text line. Keri Abernathy is with us this morning. She is part of the National Federation of Republican Women, specifically 4th Vice President and Director, Region 9. Do you get all that on a business card? That's a big title, Keri, good morning. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate your time, and I hope we can hit a bunch of different topics and maybe go a bunch of different directions. But I'm curious your reaction watching the events of yesterday unfold on a global stage and the role that President Trump played in this ceasefire agreement between Hamas and Israel, and maybe even more so than that, kind of the reception that he is now getting on a global stage.
Well, for me, myself, I was extremely moved by what has happened and what we have witnessed. We have truly witnessed history. But moreover, Richard, I think it's important for folks to really drill down in to know that elections do matter. While, he's the president of the United States, elections do matter. Where they're small or local and they impact local communities, it all builds off something greater. And I will be the first to admit that I feel wholeheartedly if President Trump had not won that election, we would not have been able to witness the events that we did yesterday and what the future holds for the Middle East.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that because former President Biden and former Secretary Blinken are kind of taking a little bit of credit online for laying some of the groundwork. And I was thinking about that, and it's like if you fire a football coach or a baseball coach and a new one comes in and takes over, it's not the guy that you fired, if the next team wins, that gets credit for winning. It's the new guy. You had your opportunity and you didn't get it done. In fact, you failed spectacularly. And then this president who has made it his business to end wars since he came into office, here he is with maybe the biggest one yet.
Absolutely. And I think that's kind of expected, right? You have people who see what a momentous occasion this was, what this means for the world, and they want to play some small part in it. But I'll tell you that I think the American people, the voters, as well as the nation, the world at large, knows that it was because of President Trump. From day one, his, activity, I think you mentioned that later, or earlier rather, his schedule, what he's been doing. Folks know, they know without a doubt it was because of President Trump and his work ethic, his vision, that this was able to happen.
You said a second ago, elections matter. And it's a phrase that I've used a bunch, and I've said it as, elections have consequences. And it's not just at the presidential level, it's at the local level as well. And, when something happens that you don't like in your local community, and you look at who the leaders are, it's pretty simple to go, elections have consequences. They matter. And we've got a bunch of those coming up in less than a month now. Significant number of seats in the Mississippi legislature are up in this special election because of redistricting and some people who have passed away and also some people who have won other offices.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you mentioned that. I think that lots of times when we have special elections or we don't have a statewide election, voters become, tendency to become disengaged. Folks like me who follow it all the time, as well as yourself, Richard, we're obviously, okay, it's November. Is there anyone on the ballot? Yeah. What do we need to do? But sometimes for the common person, they're living their life, doing the best that they can. So not all the time are they clued in. But let me be certain to tell the listeners that we do have a very big special election coming up. And what really makes this one extra special and extra unique is that the DNC, ahead of this special legislative elections on November 4th, have made a historic investment. And that was their words, not mine, right? They have put it in print. They want folks to know, as well as, their Democratic base, that they are making a powerful investment in the Democratic Party structure to really change Mississippi. Now, we know that it's a six-figure investment. We don't know exactly how much, but I'll be the first to tell you that in Mississippi, that type of money can really go a long way and make an impact. And it's all about building on what they did the election before. This is part of a long game that they're playing. They know that if they can make small, incremental successes, that the money will continue to pour in. And this is all building for, obviously this November, but next November when we vote for United States Senate in Mississippi, and then, of course, leading on to the governor's race. But we've seen this seed planting in races. For example, the Jennifer Braining Supreme Court race, right. They started building. Of course, the Gulfport mayor's race.
With Hugh Keating, yeah.
Yes. Now, of course, we were successful in those, but they're building. They're building.
Well, and Keri, isn't maybe the Gulfport mayor's race kind of proof of concept for the Democrats that even though Hugh Keating won that ended up being a 6 or 7 point margin, which in a local mayor's race is not that many votes.
No, it's not. And they understand, as well as the Republicans do, that turnout is key. Now, we can definitely talk about what's going on in New Jersey, but Republicans, we have the votes there. In other states, they're trying to register new Republican voters. We have a fantastic base, but turnout in an election that is really not caused a lot of fanfare can be hard to do. So we really have to turn out the votes. And, to coin one of President Trump's sayings is that we really do have, when it comes to these special elections in Mississippi, we really do have to swamp the vote. And the key, and look, MSGOP is working incredibly hard on training our local folks in these communities as well as DeSoto County, and I definitely want to get into what's going on in DeSoto County.
Visiting with Keri Abernathy. She is with the National Federation of Republican Women. Kind of a broad question here. I mean, we're talking specifically about these special elections that are coming up in less than a month, but traditionally Republicans do not turn out as well in midterm elections as they do in presidential years. Why do you think that is?
Well, it kind of goes back to the point that they don't really feel that need or that drive. Sometimes local elections do fall by the wayside unless there is a hot button issue that really drives them. And it, lots of times depends on the party leaders to really galvanize that or make an issue front and center. So if we could just jump real quick to kind of what's going on in DeSoto County with this special election. This is one that when I started looking at, I really, for me, a yellow light started blinking. We're not to the red light yet, but we are definitely to the yellow light.
Okay.
So let me kind of lay that out for everyone. DeSoto County is extremely important when it comes to Republican voter turnout. For someone who, we follow politics and we look at turnout, when we come to statewide races, Republicans depend on running the score up in certain areas of the state. Obviously, along the Mississippi Gulf Coast, there are pockets that we need to turn out. We need to run the numbers up, Republican numbers, to kind of offset any of the other strong areas in the state. So definitely the Mississippi Gulf Coast, my home county of Rankin County, we depend on really turning out high numbers in that. But then the next one is DeSoto County. And the Democrats have really targeted, there's 5 races that Democrats are really targeting in that.
Hold that thought. Let's talk about those 5 races specifically on the other side of this break. We're visiting with Keri Abernathy. She's with the National Federation of Republican Women. We're talking about the political landscape in Mississippi with special elections less than a month away, a bunch of legislative seats that are up for grabs. And we'll also kind of talk and get her perspective on some of what we are seeing with the governor's race in New Jersey, with the attorney general's race in Virginia, and maybe the governor's race there as well. We've got more coming up. Keri Abernathy is my guest. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi. Keri Abernathy is my guest. She's 4th Vice President and Director of Region 9 for the National Federation of Republican Women. We're talking about special elections in Mississippi and some of the things that are happening nationally as well. And Keri, before the break, we were headed down the road of these 5 races in DeSoto County that you're particularly focused on as we move toward these special elections in less than a month.
Yes. So there were 14 seats that's part of the special election, but if you drill down, there were 7 that have contested, Republican versus Democrat, but then you have 5 races that the Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee, the DLCC, they're a national Democratic affiliated organization that supports state house races. Okay. So of those 7, they have pulled out 5 that they are contributing resources to. So I want to really go over those because I think this is very, very important to the folks, especially in those districts. So I'm going to quickly go over those. And the common factor in 3 of the 5 races is DeSoto County. So this is really huge. So you've got Senate District 2. This is a newly drawn, including parts of DeSoto and Tunica. You've got Senate District 11, encompasses Coahoma, DeSoto, Quitman, Tate, and Tunica counties, and then Senate District 19, solely on DeSoto County. Now, just for the reasons that I mentioned earlier, why DeSoto County is so important is because our Republican base, we depend on DeSoto County to turn out votes. This is a very concerted effort by the Democrats to slowly but surely change that makeup of DeSoto County. Now, the reason that the Democrats are investing in this is because of the redrawing of the lines. Now they see it as competitive, and we can win. So these small wins that they get, of course, can allow them to go to much bigger donors and say, hey, we were able to make some small strides, give us more resources, more time, and we think that we can do even more. Now, let me even build off of that to further illustrate my point is the Horn Lake mayor and city council went Democrat this past June. So it's happening right before our eyes. I mentioned the yellow light. This is the yellow light. And that is why turnout in these special election races, specifically in DeSoto County, is so very important. So if you've got family or friends that's in that area, make sure that they know that turnout is essential and we need them.
And, you're talking about the money that's coming in. You mentioned the DLCC just a second ago, but the DNC has gotten involved as well. And it's rare. And some of this may be because it's a special election and there are not as many different areas that are drawing on resources that they're able to pour more money into Mississippi. But if they see that it's effective, you can bet that this is something that they will continue to do in election cycles to come, right?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. And going back to building off of something. Yeah. I can remember a news story, and of course this was after the governor's race when Brandon Presley had lost the election to now Governor Tate Reeves. Presley said he touted that in some areas of the state he was able to improve on Obama's numbers. So part of their strategy is, I've really, read a lot of things what they're doing in other states is to bring those voters, in a sense, out of retirement, right? Is really turning those out. So it's a formula. It's a strategy, and so oftentimes in Mississippi we get comfortable because we have supermajorities, right? I know the Republican candidate's going to win. I can skip this one or not vote or not make a plan, whatever it is. But I'm here to tell you we really have to change that thought process because they are on our heels and they are gaining ground. While it's slow, it's happening.
There's an interesting larger issue, I think, that's at play here. visiting with William. Oh goodness, it's early still.
William
maybe.
Russell.
Yeah, William Russell last week, and we talked a little bit about the Supreme Court case, Louisiana versus Calais, that is going to be argued or re-argued on October 15th. So we got a question on the C Spire text line from Andy. He said, I may have missed it, but who was responsible for redrawing these districts? There was a federal court that said Mississippi's districts violated the Voter Rights Act, that some of these districts were not majority-minority, therefore granting equal representation. Louisiana redrew their district maps, their congressional district maps, and the state of Louisiana has pushed back. And this has gone all the way to the Supreme Court. And if the argument that Louisiana is making is that the 14th and 15th Amendments are being violated by the Voter Rights Act. And so I'm really interested to see where this goes in October when Louisiana versus Calais becomes, because could all of this become moot? I mean, we know for this election cycle, these are the districts that we're going with, and these are the maps that we're going with, and these are the races that are going to happen and are going to be on the ballot in less than a month. But could we be doing this all over again a year from now, potentially?
It's very possible. It's very possible. And you mentioned we're going to move forward with the lines that we have now and the races that we have now. So I really don't want Republicans to take their eye off the prize. These things will work themselves out through the court system, but what's right in front of us is a very serious special election, and we have to be ready. Yeah.
I am curious your thoughts on a couple of the national races. New Jersey is a bit of a mess right now. They've got a gubernatorial candidate who is, I think, the favorite. That she's just been kind of stepping on her own feet over and over and over, and all of a sudden that governor's race in New Jersey is very much a competition, not the runaway that a lot of people thought it was going to be for Democrats.
Absolutely. So about this time last year, I was in Pine Hill, New Jersey. New Jersey is one of the states that I, support and assist with my job with the National Federation. And the intensity, the excitement a year ago about this race was some that I'd never seen before. And I was like, wow, if these folks can keep up this excitement, it's going to be an awesome race. So we were talking about, of course, Mississippi having a great Republican base to pull from, but let me share some statistics with you about New Jersey. And I think wholeheartedly the poll numbers in New Jersey are much closer than what is of course being released. But New Jersey voter registration since the 2021 election, they have lost 47,000 Democrats, but the GOP has gained 167,000 voters. I mean, that's a game changer, especially when you consider that Biden won by double digits. Trump came within 5 points of winning. So this is really in play. I think Jack Ciattarelli's making all the right moves. He's getting out there. He's doing what he needs to do. But going back to those issues that galvanize voters in New Jersey are galvanized by two really key points of this, and that is high property taxes and high electricity prices, right? They're really driven by that. And another thing that I can say about the GOP in New Jersey is they're really working. They've got their, they really have their ear to the ground. Specifically, and I think it was just announced yesterday that the Democrats in New Jersey had tried to secretly redesign the ballots to make it harder for voters to choose the Republican candidate when you looked at the ballot. Well, they went to court. They said, hey, you can't ignore election laws, and now is making them redraw their maps. So we're seeing just a lot of engagement from voters as well as the RNC assisting these on the ground issues. I'm very optimistic about what we're going to see in New Jersey.
Well, and then Virginia is an interesting case as well. Abigail Spanberger, former representative, Democratic gubernatorial candidate, and has been the favorite to win. I don't know that I've ever seen a political candidate look more like a deer in the headlights than she did in her most recent debate when she just refuses to call out Jay Jones for his hate speech and talking about wanting to use bullets to eliminate a former colleague. It's really incredible to watch how this one's unfolding.
It really is. And when you see a leader like, a former Marine in Winsome Sears, it's just truly dynamic. I would love to see the numbers on pre-debate, post-debate, what the voters think about that, because definitely the Democratic candidate had a very bad showing in that debate.
She certainly did. Keri Abernathy with the National Federation of Republican Women. Great visiting with you this morning. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. We'll take a quick time out. We're back with you to wrap up the 7 o'clock hour right after this. Thanks for joining us.